Hello! Welcome to another episode of Morning Tea. I'm your host. I hate to say Ani because then it sounds like Dr. Seuss is rhyming here, but hey, I'm Ani and I have a very special guest with me today who I actually met, God, like a month and a half ago now? Is that it?
Yeah, very now.
That's wild. Well, this is Marissa. I'm going to let I'm going to let her introduce herself, but we met in a mastermind and I've just like fallen in love with her. So Marissa, tell the people who you are, what you do, all the things.
Well, number one, the feeling is mutual. Hi, my name's Marissa Grace. I'm a bridal hairstylist and now a bridal educator for bridal beauty professionals. I have online courses and programs that help bridal hairstylists and makeup artists not only get visible with their content to book more brides, but also to scale their brand to six figures. You can find me mainly on Instagram stories like daily, and also on YouTube.
And tell them what's your Instagram handle.
Oh, duh. It's Marissa Grace Artistry.
And then do you have like a particular YouTube name? If not, I'll link it anyway, so don't worry.
It's Marissa Grace Artistry.
All the way across the board. Love it. Beautiful. Well, I really wanted to bring Marissa on today because, like I said, I met her inside of a mastermind and Marissa's like a bad bitch, but it's like hidden behind cutesy and pink. And like, I always say, you're like a Barbie to me. Every time I see you, I'm like, her eyebrows look so good and her blush looks beautiful. And you always have lipstick on and you're always wearing pink. And then I walk in looking like a hobo some days and I'm like, I should have got dressed today.
You don't see the other half.
You're like from chest up, crushing it, chest down, you know. Oh my gosh.
Long.
But you've been building your brand. I mean, your brand is it's so beautiful. It's so aesthetically put together. And I mean, I feel like when it comes to female entrepreneurs, I feel like being in the hair world, it can be really hard. I feel like it can be a little bit vicious.
It can be very vicious. And it's so funny when we first got in the mastermind and I found out you were also a hairstylist, I was like, we're either going to like each other or we're not going to like each other. And I know if you're a hairstylist, especially a salon, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Because I've come from the trauma of working in salons where it's like, oh my God, I don't want to say the wrong thing. But like, so, and it's also like, if you're a male in the salon, you're just like the best ever on the pedestal. You know what I mean? But like, I knew then we did vibe and I was like, oh, this is so refreshing because sometimes I always like that. It was so refreshing.
I was really nervous too because you're right. Like the industry sometimes, there is a girl, I think her name is the Platinum Giraffe. She's so funny on Instagram. Her entire brand is wild. And she posted something about like, you don't suck at hair, your marketing sucks. And I started to type, you suck. And then I was like, I don't know you. So I literally was like, I wanted to type that you suck, but then I realized you don't know me. She was like, do it. And I go, okay, I'm just going to bully you on the rest of your post. And she's like, yeah, do it.
Yeah, do it.
I feel like when you find like the chill people who know like it is kind of like dog eat dog and cutthroat, but when you like find your people, it's actually pretty cool.
It is. And something, I don't know if you feel the same, something I found getting out of the salon world, it's a lot less cutthroat. It's a lot less cutthroat in like our course creator industry, in like the education space, and also like maybe a little bit in the bridal world. It can get a little cutthroat, but I haven't really seen that aspect. The salon world is the cutthroat.
Salon is rough, man. Yes. Okay, but I really want to talk about what you're doing because I think a lot of stylists can really resonate with being like, I love hair and I'm so passionate about it, but I really love educating. I want to teach people what I do, and I've kind of like low-key retired from behind the chair. Like I take models and like that's how I like keep in it, but you're doing the same. You're kind of moving out of doing brides and moving into educating.
Yes. So it's wild because this was always the goal. And I've had this in place for years at this point, honestly. But yes, my goal is to step away from doing bridal hair and taking weddings. But this actually started way back in like 2020 when I had a failed masterclass and like I just totally flopped. Like it started with me wanting to teach hair. So like updos and glam waves and things like that. But like I wasn't good at it yet. So I was like, who am I to be teaching? But I really had my Delulu cap on and was like, oh, I'm gonna have a master class. I'm actually gonna have a master class. So January of 2020, I set up on Instagram. I did some talking stories saying I'm doing a master class, and one person signed up.
Oh God.
So it turned into a one-on-one class. And then I feel like I didn't even charge her because I was like, nobody else showed up. So it wound up being like free. And behind the scenes, I was like crying. Like, I was like, I am lame. Nobody signed up for that class. I felt so lame. So it was my goal to like never let that happen again. And then I signed up for an online course that helped you become a coach as like an online course creator type thing, but it also it helped me become like a hair educator. So I
Love.
shifted gears from being a hair educator, learning so much about business. And I was like, wait a minute, there's nothing like this for the bridal world. Nobody knows anything about how to grow a business. Let me see if I can grow business. So for like 3-ish years, I put everything into practice. I tested everything that I did. I, grew my business to multiple 6 figures. I hit all of my goals that I wanted to do. And then I was like, now I can teach it. Now I can
I
teach it.
love that.
This is how I want my year to go. I always knew 2023 or 2024 was going to be a year of like less weddings. So that way in the future, because I wanted to practice what I preach. So if I didn't do it, I'm not going to say it. So I put it all into practice. 2024 is the year of less weddings. 2025, oh my God, I'm going to have like 5 weddings.
That's one at barely every 2 months, dude. Like that is going from, I swear to God, you do 17 weddings a weekend. Every time I see you, you're like bride 1, bride 2, bride 45. And I'm like, where do you find the time? But I want to jump back to, and I don't want to laugh about it, but dude, doing a class and having one person sign up, you have lived every educator's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
That right there is like, I think that is the thing that keeps people from being an educator. They're like, but what if no one signs up? And having one person, like, I don't want to laugh, but that's, so how did you take yourself out of a space of like, I got this. And then you're like, oh no, to now you're doing classes and like you are look, bridal hair is not normal hair. That is, to me, that's hair on crack. Like I don't want to do brides ever again. I did them for a very short time. That's a whole nother world. So like, how did you take yourself out of the space of like, I low key epically failed because one person showed up and then I did it for free, to now like you're crushing it as a coach?
So it was like, when one person showed up, but I didn't let anyone know that. Like, I don't think anyone actually knows that. Online, I made it seem like we just transitioned into a one-on-one type of deal. And like, because I posted it online, I had to fake it till I make it. We all know in the hair industry, we're going to fake it till we make it. So that's exactly what I did and cried by myself. But I'm such a person of like, I have to prove everyone wrong, even myself. So like I was a total failure in that moment. And I was like, well, that's never going to happen again. Like that was my mindset. Yes. Like I will do everything to not let it happen again. So when I signed up for a course and she's like, okay, you have to post this type of content for educational, you have to share what you know, you have to like look like an expert in the space. And I'm like, I don't want people to think I'm dumb. I don't want someone to say that like I don't know how to teach hair. So it was like literally you post it and then you throw your phone away. But I was like, I paid for this course. There's no way I'm not doing everything this person says. Yep. So I did everything she said and I got educators. I didn't let that stop me of like, I'm not going to pursue this any further. I had the moment, but I'm the type of person, I'll give myself a day to feel sorry for myself. And then we're back rolling. You get one day to sit in it, and then, we're back at it.
Yep. Go in your car, scream as loud as you can, shake the steering wheel, sob in the shower, and then like, you got to put your big girl chonies on and that's it. You don't have time to do that. And I feel like I'm just like you. I'm one of those people because I've done a lot of educating, but not all of it has been great. There have been epic failures along the way. And I'm one of those where I'm like, I never want to feel that way again. That feeling of you thought you crushed and you flopped. I'm like, I don't ever want to feel that way. So what do I have to do now? and implement and learn and grow from to make sure that that's like in the rear view. And I'll say like my fiance, God bless that man, because literally yesterday I was talking about something and I was like, okay, like I'm going to Australia, I'm going to do all these things and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm kind of nervous. And he goes, what is it you can't do though? He's like, honestly, think about it. Is there anything you can't do? And I was like, you know what? You're right. When I put my mind into it, I can do anything. And he's like, yeah, I'm joking. And he's so sincere. He's like, yeah. And I'm just like, oh, you're my hype man. Thank you.
He's not wrong. And like, he's the voice of like reason, because we will doubt ourselves and we will spiral. I spiral so fast. And that Miss Imposter syndrome will beat me down if I let her.
Dude, and have you ever looked at, because I know like, because I focus on like social media and extensions, sometimes I look at accounts that are 2-3 times my size and I'm like, who am I kidding? And your following is pretty large. I think you're like rolling up on 80,000, but do you ever look at people even bigger than you and you're like, what am I doing?
Yes. And you know what? That's a double-edged sword. And I love that you brought that up, because it's a double-edged sword in the sense of like, when I was a smaller account, like when I was starting out, I'd be looking at people with 10K and thinking that they're so amazing. But also it's like, you need that piece to strive to. You need that piece to do better, because if I was only looking at accounts that had 5,000 followers, I wouldn't be striving to make my account and make my content better. That's like, you're not leaving that room for growth. They always say you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So it's kind of like the same thing. You don't want to be the person with the largest following in the room, right? Or like whatever it is for you. You don't want to be that person. I'm looking at the people who have multiple millions of followers, who have big YouTube followings or big on TikTok, things like that. So that way I always keep myself on my toes. I want to be like a step ahead.
Same. And it's so funny because I feel like when I had 5,000 followers, 10,000 seemed impossible. And then I hit 10 and 20 seemed impossible. Then I hit 20. And it's like every time I would look at someone with like 20,000, I'm like, wow, their account's huge. And then I hit it and I'm like, I don't feel big. And then I hit 30 and I'm like, still don't feel big. So it's almost, I don't know if in my mind there'll ever be a time where I'm like, I think I'm a big account. Because to me, I'm just me. I don't know. Right. Like I'm just me teaching the things I know to the people who need help just like I needed help back then, you know?
Right. Same thing. Same
Love
thing.
That. So educating, right? It's so fucking hard because you've learned now doing something and then teaching how to do something, not the same.
Yeah. And I feel like we chatted about that when I first came into Mastermind, because I'm still super new. I've taught people, I do have courses that do have hundreds of people in them, but yet like it's still super new to me. And the way that people learn is you don't know until they're in there learning.
Yes.
You don't know that you're overwhelming them with everything and that you don't need to do that. You shouldn't do that, because when we spend the course, my number one mistake.
I've done that where I'm like, I need to tell them everything. And because I also talk fast naturally, I'm like an auctioneer. And they're just like, what? Like it goes over their head. And at the end of the day, you're like, I think I crushed it. And they're leaving so more confused than they came in. And you're like, I fucked that up pretty bad.
Yeah. And you don't know it until you try it and you mess it up. And you're like,
and I'll say the biggest I've ever taught in front of like a group was 350 people, which was like, whoo, that is, it's so funny because people are like, smaller groups are harder. I'm like, kind of, because you have to look at them, but also when you're standing on like a stage and you're looking out, and then because it was also like an extension class, so there's 300 people plus like 300 mannequins, so it feels like more. Girl, when I tell you your deodorant will not work that day, I am not joking. Like, you better get the men's stuff that's real strong, because that is like it's very like humbling where you're like, you can't fuck up because everyone is looking at you.
The largest class I did was 35 people, and that was so nerve-wracking. I couldn't imagine 300. In person, I am such an introvert. Like, to be on a stage like that and have people staring at like that, public speaking, vomit.
I had to get used to it. And also because like, I always say like, I do think I'm funny, but only to like a certain kind of person. Like, I don't think I'm
That's
universally funny like comedians. So then, like, even when you're on stage and you're trying to make jokes, like, it's so crazy when you're around like that many people, but even 35 people in person, that's a big class. Like,
It was pretty big. It was one of those ones where you double up with somebody. So like she was teaching and I was teaching at the same time, which I did get feedback that people don't like that. And I could see it in their faces after I taught like in-person classes. And I'm going from like doing 10-person classes to 35. When you have a smaller group, they retain so much more. And I feel like, especially if you're starting out, you like want to do those large classes maybe, so that way maybe you're getting the more financial gains from it. But honestly, I appreciate a smaller class. I would rather only do intimate classes of like 10, maybe 15 people tops, because then I would always do like one-on-ones with them after. Like I would be able to walk around and I'd be able to talk to them and connect with them. With 35 people, we didn't do a hands-on because that would have been nuts. I mean, 300, you help mannequins out. That's wild.
yeah. To this day, some days I'm still like, I don't know how we did that. That was just, it is a very wild experience. And I'll say, I feel like one of the most awkward things is when you're standing on the stage and someone gets up to leave, you're like, I hope you're coming back. Like, you know, they are, but you just have a moment where you're like, are you going to the bathroom? Like, you gonna be back, bro? That would be great.
Too? Like, please, don't leave me.
Please don't leave, come back. I swear, I'm going to be better.
You will learn, I promise.
Yes. I swear, like being an introvert though, because I think most people, because it's so funny, I would see your personality on Instagram. I would never know you're an introvert. And I feel like I'm the same. I'm naturally an introvert. I'm not an extroverted person.
No, you're lying. You're lying. No.
In a room, like house parties are my own personal hell. I would, like a room with a bunch of people, I would rather shrink back to the wall for the first 2 to 3 hours and just watch. Don't look at me. You don't have to talk to me. I just want to watch to see like how people interact. And then I'm just so awkward and I don't do small talk well, that then I just stand there going, looking back and nodding, and then I'm like, I feel so stupid. The last party I went to, because my fiance and I just moved to Denver, and one of his like friends of like 20 years had a party. It came to the point where I was so like overwhelmed and overstimulated and like just like nervous. I went out to the backyard to play with the dog, and one of the girls came out. She was like, I was looking for you, and everyone said there's someone in the backyard with the dog. And I was like, oh God, that's just me. Yep, it's just me alone.
Yo, that's hilarious. That's how my husband is. He'll be the one out back playing with the dog. Like, we're both pretty introverted in that way, but like the people who are going to like these large care events, and I'll have some people DM me and be like, oh, are you gonna come to the behind the chair show? And I'm like, I love you all so much. I would literally rather die. I would need somebody who was like if me and you went, I would need a buddy. Like I can't handle it. I get so overstimulated, and I say, literally, my husband makes fun. I say the dumbest things. Whatever's on my mind, I will say, and I word vomit. I can't handle that. Nobody wants that, to be honest. Literally, nobody wants that.
Here's what I said at the party when I was talking to someone, because there's no filter. We were talking about something, and I was like, she said something, and I was like, oh yeah, I was outside with the dog, just got like a little overstimulated. There's a lot of people. She's like, yeah, it is overstimulating here. And I go, yeah, I'm autistic, so sometimes it's just a lot. And she goes, really? She goes, I never would have known you're autistic. And I don't know why I said this. I go, well, I'm not like math autistic. I'm just like personality autistic. And she looked at me and I was like, which is fine. I'm just like, why? Why didn't you just shut up and talk about literally anything else? I don't know why I've said that a couple times. And then after it comes out, I'm like, I can't take it back. So now we're just looking at each other, and she kind of laughed and was like, huh. And I was like, oh God, oh no.
That's when you're like, please, dog, come back to me. Come back to me.
Did anyone bring food? Or like, oh, someone's pouring drinks. Like, that is just so, and I don't drink. So it's not even like I have like a buffer to be like, oh, loosen up. It's just me in all my awkwardness.
In full awkward.
Oh, you know what? I feel like when it came to educating, what helped me a lot, I had to remind myself like, they're here to see you, Ani. They're here to see you. They want to learn from you. They paid money to talk to you. Take a deep breath. They're going to love what you have to teach. They obviously already found value. And I feel like I almost made like education spaces like my house. And
Yeah.
in my own house, I'm friendly, I'm fun, I'm laid back. So I feel like once I like changed my mindset to not like this is a class. I'm just like
Yeah.
this is my house and they came to see me and everything is going to be fine. I was able to
Mhm.
like calm down and have more fun with it.
Yeah, like for me, I more like to get myself out of my introverted shell because when you think of it, when you are doing especially in-person classes versus online, like you're in person, they're staring at you. So like you kind of are public speaking on stage. So to help me, I always had to have like a whiteboard behind me and I would practice like days leading up. I would practice like the very first words that I would say and I would have it scripted out of like hey, hello, where are you from? I'm so serious. Like, I have to have talking points. Otherwise, I will literally black the fuck out. And I'm like, just going off the cuff, and nobody wants that. And I'll start dripping sweat. So, like, I have to have like a script of what to say, practice it multiple times. And also, I always have to remind myself of like, you know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, you're
You
good in
know.
your you know what you're talking about. Like, let's just get it out of your mouth and show the people what they came here to say. And I feel like when you're educating, especially in person, something I find that they love is when you bring them into it versus like just talking to
Yes.
them. You ask
Yes.
them like, hey, are you guys getting this? Or what would you like to see? Or is this hitting for you? Is this not? Like that was kind of helpful.
Absolutely. There was when I was first starting to educate, because I started when I'm 34 now, so I started when I was 27.
Wow.
And I would do two things. I would sit in front of my mirror and I would talk to myself as though
What?
I was a student and just go over it. And then when I needed to know, like, is what I'm saying making any sense? I would call my poor mother and be like, Mom, I need to teach you some things real quick. So let me know if it makes sense. So my mom has had to sit through countless hours of me being like, this is what this means, and this is what this means, and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, is that landing? And she'd be like, well, that was kind of not great, or this. Like, it was just so helpful to have someone who gave a shit to like sit and listen. But
Yeah.
that poor woman has heard so much, not bullshit about the hair world, but she's had to learn so much unintentionally. But it helped like a lot.
But I'm sure she's like an extension expert. Like she has a certificate probably.
I bet you that she could do it now.
I believe
So,
in
so how are you feeling like these days? Now you're like a few years in, you had
it.
your, I feel like it's like your origin story of the one person class. Like that is where like everyone starts. How do you
Yes.
feel these days educating?
So it's so wild because I went from that. Now, this is like where your mind starts to mess with you. And this is where like you reach where you want, where you like the things that you want. So, in terms of education, now I'm moving more into business education. So, teaching Instagram, marketing, sales, how to actually book brides, which is like my jam. That's what I love. I like teaching hair, but I love teaching business even more because it's what we need in this space and that's how you're going to make more money.
Yes.
And so I launched my very first program last November. And that was like it was called Bridal Boss Academy. I put everything in it, literally everything I ever knew about anything of business. I shoved it in this program and I was so proud of it. And I was like, I need to get this out in the world. There's someone out there who needs this. And I had 125 people join, which was phenomenal. It blew my mind that many people signed up and I was so happy about it. But then that set the bar. It set the
Yeah.
bar. So what happened was it set the bar. That was a 6-figure launch. So when we're talking about online courses and things like that, now that the bar's there, it needs to be there higher. Am I right? Or am I ready?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say in my eyes, I saw it as a failure because it didn't hit my goals. I relaunched the course in April or March. I relaunched it in March and I had just come off of moving and I didn't have as much time to put into the launch. So I was like, I'm just gonna relaunch. I'm just gonna relaunch it. So I didn't do
Yeah.
the same things I did previously. And also I didn't look at the course and try to fix anything, like take out the million and one things that didn't need to be in there. Um, and that was in that process, I found Natasha, and that's how I found the mastermind and things.
Yeah.
But when the bar is set that high and I didn't meet that goal again, it's like, it's such a catch 22 because I did have a great launch. I signed up like 50 some people, but
Yeah.
in my eyes, I was like, oh, I didn't do the same as the first time. Like, I am a failure once again, you know? But it was
Yeah.
still a really successful launch and people are getting a lot out of the program. But now I'm just reworking everything. And again,
Yeah.
that's how I found Natasha. And I've been, I mean, we're like going through everything in there and she's really helping me out, like to not put everything into something.
It's so funny because we do want to be like, let me tell you everything. Let me
Yeah.
give it all to you. And then it doesn't
Yeah.
always necessarily land. And it's like, how could you not love it? It's my heart and soul. What do you
Yeah.
mean? Do you ever feel like, because it's so funny because right now inside of our mastermind, we're going through like different buyer types, which that entire lesson blew my fucking wig back. Like I sat there over psychoanalyzing every person in my DMs for
Yeah.
weeks. I
Right?
couldn't stop. Yes. But it's so funny. Do you ever have days where you're like, I just wish I could tell people, look, I promise you, you're going to love it. Just buy it.
Wow. Yeah, because you have those days where you're just mentally exhausted, but you're like, I know I need to show up today. I know I need to serve my people. But like some days you're just like, you don't have the words of like, hey, I know you need this. I know this is going to help you. Just like, here you go. Here you
Here's
go.
a link. I
Here's the
promise
link.
you, you're going to be so happy. So
I,
on days like that, where you're just like, it's not it. I always say it's like my brain is like sluggish. Like the gears are turning, but they're like missing gears. Like it's just not working. What do
yeah.
you do to like either like pump yourself up or like amp yourself up or at least just get like anything done?
Oh, so I am a very like routine person. So
Okay.
I wake up I started this years ago and it just works for me, especially with courses. I wake up at 5 a.m. I drink my coffee, I go straight to my laptop and I go straight to work. And I get on like, I go straight to work. Like I have to get into the workflow. If I delay any movements, like if I go on my phone, if I have any distractions, I'll sit there and I'll stay in those feelings. But usually it happens for me when I'm like in work mode and then I'll pop on my phone and like some distraction will happen and it's like fire in my inbox and then that'll derail my day. So when that happens, to get myself back on track, I always take a gym break. Even if I'm dragging ass, I take a gym
Okay.
break because I heard somewhere that if you actually like physically remove yourself from the environment and like take a break, you're going to rework your brain, your subconscious, whatever it is. So by like doing physical activity, like even if I'm just walking on the treadmill and then I'll blast like my favorite Post Malone songs. And his songs to me, if you listen to his lyrics, they're like very manifestation. Like I love Barrett Olson. He's just brilliant. So I'll actually like sing them in my car and pump myself back up and then I can go back to my day. But something I'll definitely stay away from if I'm like vibes are off, imposter syndrome's hitting, and like I'm feeling low is I stay off the socials because I'll go into the death spiral. I'll go on TikTok to laugh.
TikTok's fun.
I'm,
Yep.
I'll go on TikTok to laugh, but I will stay out of my DMs and I will just like give myself a break. You have to give yourself
You
a
know
break.
what? I've never met someone else like me. I get up at 5 a.m. and because I like to post first thing in the morning. So, like my vlogs that I've been doing, I actually do them the night before. The captions are ready. Everything is done and set. And I have 3 accounts I post on every day. God help me. Yeah. I know. So I wake up, I post on 2 of the accounts, then I get out of bed, let the dogs out, we'll make sure there's no animals around, pick up any like feed. That was like, it's like crazy over here right now. But then I'm straight to work. Like I'm probably in front of my computer by 6:30 because there's something about my brain is up, we are fresh, and the rest of the US is still asleep. because
Yeah,
6 a.m. for me is 5, 6, 7, 8 in like the US. And most
sure.
people are like getting up, they're getting their kids. So it's almost like there's no distractions for me. So all I can do is fulfill orders that happened the night before, respond to emails, get like a bunch of what I like, it's like piddly shit done that takes up so much time during the day. Because I'm telling you, by the time like 2, 3, 4 o'clock hits, I mean, I've
When,
already been working 6, 7, 8 hours. I've
yeah,
already put in a full day. And by then, to be honest, I'm tired. Everyone else is up. And now my DMs are popping off. Now I'm just
what,
sitting, chilling on the couch, doing my feedback, doing these things. But like, if I save my like office work or God help me filming for the afternoon, no fucking way. It's not getting
yeah,
done. Zero
no.
chance.
I follow, that's wild because I've never met someone who also does the same thing, but I follow, like, I have like blocks throughout my day of when I do things. So when I have like super high brain activity is first thing in the morning. Like my brain literally, she shuts down around like 4 p.m. And like
Same.
I'm in bed by like 8 p.m. Like I am literally an old lady. Okay. I am falling asleep. But like I am the type of I'm a morning person and I want to get done all of my like need to do tasks before 11,
Yes.
12 p.m. And then after my gym break, when I get back around like 1 p.m. is typically when I'm doing my low like brain power tasks, which is like responding to DMs, posting on social, doing like my low brain activity. And my high brain activity, when I need to be like super functioning, is all in the morning. Again, when nobody's awake to distract us, besides our
Dude,
dogs.
yes. I have literally never met another person like me. Most people are like, I don't start work till 10 a.m. I'm like, 10 a.m. I'm halfway done with my day. Literally, I'm already 4 hours into work. Like, we're finished.
Yeah, we're already done. Yeah.
There's something for some reason I wake up and my brain is like firing on all cylinders no
Ready to go.
matter how tired I am. Like, unfortunately today, so my dogs sleep in the room with me, just not on my bed. And Ronald, for some reason last night, you know when dogs like lick their paws and it's just he decided to do that all night long for some reason. And I made sure he was okay. He's fine. He's just chilling. So at 3:30, I was finally like, stop licking your paws. And he was like, oh, sorry. Guess what? I've been up since 3:30, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna make my post for the day. Like, I've done a bunch of stuff, I fulfilled order. Like, I was like, I guess we're just up. My fiance called me, he's like, why are you awake so early? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's just that kind of day, I guess. But I'm gonna
Thanks,
take a
Donald.
nap later.
But you know what? Can I just acknowledge the fact of like you get so much done, specifically you, because you're like posting on 3 accounts, and like how many people are like, I don't know, I don't have the time to post. You wake up a little bit earlier than normal and get it done.
Mhm. Look, you gotta make time. And that I feel like,
Yeah.
do you feel like bridal artists are the same way? They're like, you don't understand. I don't have any time when I'm doing here to get content. And then I see your page and I'm like, this bitch set up her phone at the end of the driveway, walked down, walked back, then set it inside, then walked back in the house, then set it up. Like what I want, I just want bloopers from you. I want I want the videos of you having to walk back up the driveway. Cause there's one that was like long and down
Yeah.
and curved. And I was like, Marissa has to come back. Like, girl, your phone is in the street. And I've had to
I
do
have
stuff.
some bloopers. There's some that I'll keep in there where I'm like just like running back to get my phone. But also, people who don't try it don't know that it doesn't take that much time. I'm like, how much
No.
time would it actually take you? It takes me like 10 seconds to run back to get my phone. You could set it up, people.
It's especially if your phone doesn't even come off the tripod, then you set it back down and you turn it back on. That's what I do in the salon. Like I'm doing a client like next week, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take my camera, leave it on the tripod, put my phone on the tripod, and then it's just literally turning on, turning off to make sure the videos don't get too long, switch angles, and that's it. It's literally that easy.
We're the same. We're the same.
Content is king, and I will do anything for my content at this point.
Thank you. That is the mindset I've always had. Like, I will do anything to get the content. It's that, but you know what it is? It just becomes a habit. And when it's a habit, it's like, it's like, I'm not even thinking. My brain is just going. I'm just doing what I normally do. Again, it goes back to like creating that routine. Like, I create that routine. Yes. When I'm at a wedding, I'm filming. This is what I'm filming. XYZ.
this is how we're doing it. And I remember you saying once that first you started doing only like 5,000 time lapse, and that was like your entire content.
That was the strategy.
You know, there have been some people I'm like, anyone I work with, I'm like, I'm banning you from time lapses. I don't want to see them anymore. Just give me 6 seconds of you doing literally anything else. But all of a sudden, like, and I'm like, that's not, I don't, just go slow. It's fine.
I literally did time lapses until 2023. Okay. I am
Oh, wait, you just stopped them. Damn.
I've been doing them for way too long.
I'm sorry. I might actually cry. That is so funny. Here I was thinking you stopped in 2022. You're like, bitch, that was 7 months ago. I stopped.
Like, actually, it was like around like April of last year, and like April 2023. I was still doing the time lapses.
Well, then I got to give you props because your content is so beautiful and so well done. So you've grown a lot in like a year.
Yeah, I guess so. And it all started when I stopped the time lapses. I'm so serious. It really did.
I'm gonna cry. Oh my god. For me, it was boomerangs were my jam because the boomies were so cute. And I swear to God, I put 17 filters on everything. I look back at some old pictures and I'm like, what were you doing?
Why is it so filtered?
What was the real color of anything here? Because I don't know.
All my stuff had like a peach orange tone to it. I'm like, stop it. Stop it with the grain, Marissa. Relax.
No more grain. Oh my god. But do you know what? I love that everyone can hear this because I think, tell me if you agree or disagree. I think people think it's going to take 5 years to be able to change their content. You can do that shit in a month.
Oh, yeah.
1 month is easy.
I literally overnight created like a whole new content plan last year. I got married last year. I got married last year, last April, and I had like a month off. And what I did was I dissected every piece of my content and I was like, nothing is working. We need to switch up the strategy. I'm not getting the same growth I used to. I'm not getting the same views. I was like, it's tired. It's old. We need to quit the time lapses. It's what it was. And I was looking at all of my favorite creators on TikTok and I was like, oh, they're not time lapsing anymore. They're doing styles. Everyone has a series. So I created a series. And when I started that series, I started wearing pink and I started filming myself. And it was so uncomfortable. But literally, one of my first ones that I actually was like the 4th one I did went viral, like 2.2 million. And I was like, I'll keep doing this.
Okay, wait. Shit, this is amazing. Do you know what I love hearing you say, though? That you took the time to look at your own content. I always say, like, we have to look at it objectively, not with our eyes, not with, like, but I made it. I know it's going to be so good. Like, I always tell people I work with, I'm like, if you are not obsessed with your content, if you don't want to sit there on your phone and rewatch it and giggle all day long and laugh, like, then you have to change your content. And I'll be honest, some people have been offended and they're like, no, my content's good. And I'm like, with respect, if it's not working, it's not good. Not saying you do trash hair. It's the type of content you're putting out isn't landing.
Yeah, I have always been somebody who analyzes the fuck out of my content. I literally have an entire KPI chart and I do week by week by week. I've been really crappy with it lately and I haven't been keeping up, but I literally analyze every little thing about it. And if something's not working, I switch up my strategy. Like I feel like you have to be that way of like looking at it from, your viewer's perspective. What are they liking? What are they not liking? What can we fix here? And if your views aren't there, you have to adjust. Like you have to look at the numbers of like.
Yes. Well, and I'm even looking at like time of day and time of year. Like it's summer. I'm not going to post my best, hardest hitting content on the weekend. No one's on their phone. So
Yes.
I know, like, I'll do both my vlogs on Saturday, Sunday. I'll do one that's educational, but generally Sunday night for me is either like how to prep yourself for next week, or it's something that's just like connecting. Like, I think this week I was like, oh, I was like, Stylists admit it. Have you ever secretly toned a client who didn't want it, who said they didn't want a toner? And everyone's like, yes, I have. Like, things like that are also fun to like connect and chit chat. Not everything has to be like, here's why you should buy this for 45 reasons. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
QVC, calm down. Like, we don't just
Um,
talk to me like
Totally.
a normal human being.
Be fun. Just literally be fun.
Did you ever have a moment where you're like, I know people say be fun and funny and have a personality. Have you ever been like, I don't think I'm fun, funny, and do I even have a personality? Because I hear that from people a lot.
Yeah, literally every day I'm like, I am not funny. Sometimes, even still, I'll turn if it's been a while since I've like filmed content, if I put the camera up, I literally go brain dead. I'm like, I have no personality. I don't know what to say. Like, I have to script things out. And then once I film like one or two videos, then I'm like, oh, here we are. Or what I'll do is I'll watch comedy. Like, I'll go on TikTok and if funny people, I really like match people's energy. I don't know what it is. Like, if someone is funny to me, like there's this guy, what's his name? Kennedy, something Kennedy. I don't know. I watch him on TikTok and he's hilarious. Has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but he's funny. And that gets me in a funny mood. Like, so then I'm able to like match it if I'm not in a funny vibe. But like, I know I'm kind of funny. I'm a little sarcastic. I can be
You're
sassy.
really funny. You're funny. Yeah. Like, that's why I feel like you and I, we vibed immediately because we were like, okay, yeah. This works here. Okay, so what would be, let's say, your biggest piece of advice that you would give to like a bridal artist, a hairstylist, or just anyone listening, because you work a lot with social media as well, to
Mhm.
tell them like, here's like my biggest piece of advice that will help you move forward, either like get out of their head. I'm thinking for the people who are like, there's no time, or I'm not good enough, or I'll never catch up, those people.
I'll never catch up. So I find what those people are doing is they're spending way too much time scrolling and not doing instead of taking action, because I've been there and I see people do it all the time. And also those things of like when you're scrolling, you're seeing that you're getting that dopamine hit of like, here's 10 hooks, but you've never used them. Or like you're taking people's strategies and you're like piecemealing it together to make your own, and you're wondering why yours isn't working because you need to follow one. You need to follow one strategy and you need to see it through. If you're not seeing it through, and when I say see it through, I'm saying 90 days. I'm not
At
saying third
least.
at least. I'm not saying 30, 60. I'm saying 90 days. If you see where I'm at now, it's because I built that audience. It took me years to get 10K. And then
Yep.
I will say, when you're at a higher following, it is easier for your content to go a little bit more viral quicker.
Yeah.
Just like we were talking about the Jenna Kutchers. It's not, I can't tell somebody who has 2,000 followers that they're going to go viral. We're playing the lottery. So like, I find you need to have one solid strategy and see that through and get off of your Reels tab, get off of socials and start posting. Like,
Yep.
if you're constantly on there, you're constantly comparing yourself to someone who's got a higher following than you, that's going more viral, and it's going to stop you from showing up. So find
Yep.
that strategy that aligns with you and see it all the way through. 90
I
days.
love that. Yeah, 90. I always say it takes like 30 days for the algorithm to even pick you up. For the
Yeah.
algorithm to be like, okay, Marissa's serious. She's here. She's engaging. She's been posting. And I
Yeah.
swear to God, at that 30-day mark is when things start to tick up. And I feel like for me, my biggest thing is like for anyone who's sitting in there and they're like, okay, yeah, but Marissa's cool and she has the pink thing and she's beautiful and Ani has like the hair thing and so whatever. Look, you're just as interesting as us because I don't actually think I'm super interesting, which is why I was so afraid to vlog because I'm like, you want to see my dogs 75 times a day? You want to see the deer in my yard? Like, I
Yeah.
don't leave my house. You want like that? That's
Yeah.
all I have. I want people to realize you're far more interesting than you think you are. And
You have to
people don't need
romanticize your life.
Yes, people don't need, you don't have to have a private plane and glitz and glamour. People literally just want to see you. They
Yeah.
want me as a person. They want Marissa as a person. Yes, they love the things that we do, but if we're only ever buy, that
Yeah.
connection is gone. So, like, give yourself some credit. Everybody's interesting. Everyone.
Right. And I will say that one piece of like filming yourself and like saying like, oh, I'm not interesting. We know the buyer that's going to attract. Just saying.
There is a buyer for everyone. When I tell y'all, when we did that mastermind course or the training on buyer types, and I was sitting there like, that's me, that's me. And if anyone spoke to me like that, I would probably throw like that's so offensive, but that works for people. It blew my mind. Like that is one of the few things I've seen in the past probably few years that I was like, like this is insane.
I'm like, I have to infuse that into my social media.
Yeah. Well, and then all of a sudden I was like, I need to make all sorts of different posts. And I'm like, Ani, calm down. Like, just do what you're doing. Just make small adjustments as you go. Because I get in the mood where I'm like, I'm going to redo everything. I'm like, don't do that. Stop it, bitch.
Delete everything.
delete. Start from scratch. I'm like, no. We're just gonna every post. That's how I try to do it. Every post, just change a little bit of something, change a little bit, because if not, I get so overwhelmed because I'm still working on my courses. I'm still with my students. I still have models. You're still doing hair. We're both still filming. Like there's so much that like, no, I can't sit down and pretend like the world doesn't exist for 3 days just to redo everything.
Yeah, a dream.
Wouldn't that be nice? Well, Marissa, thank you so much for being here today. You are wonderful. Okay, remind them of your Instagram and your website.
My Instagram is at Marissa Grace Artistry and my website is bridalbossacademy.com, but you can find that linked in my Instagram bio. And you can also find some amazing videos on YouTube at Marissa Grace Artistry.
Love that. Girl, you nailed that. Have you been practicing? Because that was good. That was no stuttering, no stumbling. Like you crushed. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here this week with us on Morning Tea. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, DM either one of us. We genuinely love talking to you guys. Like the communities that we've built isn't just for like shits and giggles. It's because we really love you guys. So like, hit us up in our DMs if you need anything. Have a great day, guys.